In this video, we're going to look at manufactured goods and manufactured services, goods and services. What are the similarities and what are the differences? Manufacturers produce tangible products and services are intangible products. Okay, tangible products would be something that you can touch, there's a physical shape, there are dimensions that you can measure. Whereas service products are intangible, often you cannot, there is no physical shape, so you cannot touch or measure or feel it. Now, operations activities in producing goods and producing services are often quite similar, and sometimes the distinctions are not always very clear because there are some service products that will have physical shape. For example, if you go to a restaurant, you think of restaurants as a service operation, but there is a physical product there. At the same time, and there are cases where suppose you want to buy a computer. A computer is a physical product, yeah, but then there is service aspect involved in that. So it's very often the distinctions are not always clear, but there are some major concepts that we can try to understand. In this table 1.3, there are some major characteristics of services here and characteristics of goods here. And you can go through these point by point. Let me describe in a major fashion overall and what are the different dimensions where there will be difference. One is, of course, the physical nature of product. Goods will be physical shape. There is a touch and you can touch and measure, whereas services is not. Okay, and that means that tangible products can be produced ahead of time, kept in inventory in anticipation of demand, and sold. So computers and automobiles you can produce ahead of time, keep them in inventory, and then sell because it has physical shape and it's a tangible product. Whereas service, since it is intangible, you cannot store them in, produce ahead of time and store them in inventory. So you cannot, for example, store haircuts. Haircut is a service product. You cannot produce haircut. That's absurd. You cannot produce dental services. You cannot produce dental cleaning ahead of time. You have to perform it when it is consumed. So that is one major difference. And another one is quality. Quality in physical goods, because it has shape and characteristics that can be defined and measured. So relatively speaking, it is easier to define quality, measure quality, and so on. Whereas in service products, oftentimes service, what constitutes excellent service is often dependent upon what the customer's expectations are and what the customer feels and the customer's perception, the eye of the beholder, if you will. And therefore, it is hard to define, or relatively hard to define, even though we can set some basic principles. But it is hard to fine tune and define like you could do in the case of tangible products. So that is a second major difference. And third is customer involvement. In manufactured goods, customer involvement during the production process is zero or very minimal. So if you have, how many customers are present when a physical product like a computer or a telephone are being manufactured? None at all. Okay. But in service sector, the customer involvement oftentimes is crucial. Without the customer being present, for example, dental cleaning, without the customer being present, you cannot produce that service product. And therefore, customer presence, customer interaction is relatively high in service products and almost non-existent in manufactured goods. Now, when we look at employment, we all know that Employment in manufacturing has been flat or even declining, and the employment in service sector is on the rise and increasing. And here is a report of the percentage of jobs in service sector. Okay, about 86%, and very few jobs in manufacturing sector. Now there is a perception that service jobs are low paying jobs. To some extent it is true, but there are some major, especially in technology based companies, jobs, healthcare jobs. These are high paying jobs, service sector high paying jobs.